Call to order. Any guests? Go ahead, young lady.
Just introduce myself?
Yep, go ahead, introduce yourself and,
Robin Kelly, Cemetery Administrator. I had missed the last meeting to give an update on an old CPC article from last year, so I came to update you guys on that. Want me to do it now?
go ahead. Yep,
Okay.
you've got it.
So I passed out a little handout to you guys. It's not a full update, but it's just like a two-sided application. So Article number 50 of 2018 Annual Town Meeting. You guys approved 49,000, but the bid came in at 47,250. Total completed to date is 31,193.50. She should be completed by the end of the month with the entire project. Upon completion, she will be returning a book to you guys that will have all the before and after pictures of all the stones that were repaired. It's going to tell you exactly what treatments were done to each one of the stones, and it'll be a complete report. And she also wanted to invite any members of the board, if they would like to go out and tour the cemetery with her, she can show you the work on site. Okay. So I can send you guys an email with her contact information, and then you guys at a later date can set up a time to go out there with her.
Okay,
Okay.
that's great. Any questions from the board?
I don't think I got that.
Did,
I have an extra, I can give it to you.
Thanks, Robin.
Mary?
I just want
Thank you, Robin.
to comment that Robin had, as part of her Pine Grove Cemetery application, had given us these samples from the Mount Pleasant, and the board, the Historic Commission was thrilled with the way a lot of these were coming out, so.
Yeah, if you
And it
just
was-
take a drive through and see, it's pretty outstanding. It looks like the day they were installed. Their restoration is unbelievable. I'm very pleased with her work.
John?
What
Yep.
is the oldest gravestone that's being restored here?
The oldest one that was, there was quite a few from the 1800s, so I don't know what the oldest one is, but I could get that for the next meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Thank you very much. Moving on. Before we get into the approval of the minutes, we have a new member of the board. My name's Dave Nixon, Chair. I'm the Recreation Advocate. We'll start from the left, my left, and go around. We'll introduce ourselves to the new member.
Hi, I'm Donna Kalanick. I am appointed by the Board of Selectmen, Citizens Rep.
I'm John Ketchum. I'm the Conservation Commission representative here.
I'm Mary Maslowski, I'm the Planning Board rep.
Jan Moore, Board Secretary.
Jim Donovan, Real Estate and Open Space Committee Representative.
And you are?
I'm Kim Borgia and Housing Authority appointee.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on. Approval of the minutes of September 12th, 2019.
I move that we approve the minutes of, sorry,
September 12th, 2019.
and place them on file.
We have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's done. We lost one of our members. He's moved to a different area, and quite frankly, I'm gonna miss Chris. He had quite a sense of humor. English humor, I guess we'd call it. Okay. One other thing for the newest members, we have access to the Carol Coppola, the Finance Director, and Chris, the Town Administrator. Any questions that you have as far as this process and the numbers are concerned, it comes through the chair. Send me an email, give me the information that you're looking for, I'll set up an appointment with you, with the appropriate boards. Okay. new business. Discussion of the possible vote for the rescind of balances of the projects. The following: Brooks Free Library Restoration Project. It's an Article 2018, Article 51 for $8,747. I'm looking for a vote to rescind. So, motion,
So moved.
second,
I'll second.
discussion. Mary, you want to give them an explanation?
Well, as far as we know, that project was completed,
That these are completed,
so we are just simply rescinding the
taking them back.
unused balances, and they'll go back into their appropriate buckets.
Is everybody comfortable with that?
So that number is reflected in the,
No,
Not yet.
we haven't taken action.
no, in the report that they submitted, that the library submitted.
I believe in the last one.
That's the last report.
Okay, I don't mean to hold things up here. I don't see it there, but that's all right.
Do you want me to get it real quick?
What?
Where they say the amount?
Sure.
She's got everything.
Yeah, I can see.
Well, no, but quite possible. So. Restraint. Trying to see where she may have said it automatically in this report. We went over the figures quite a few times.
Right.
Maybe we just added it up between what was spent and what was left. Can I give background?
Sure.
Okay. They had to reserve an amount of money in the balance of the article in case there were additional architectural fees that needed to be, if the architects needed to be contacted to address an issue. There was never an issue. And the director of the library found this by reading the Munis reports?
It's Munis report and it's under contingency.
Yeah, so the money is there, and it's in the open balance. And I think if you subtract everything out of what they were appropriated and what was spent, you'll come up with that amount. I don't see the figure bouncing right out of these figures now.
If I may.
Go ahead, Mary.
We've confirmed with Carol that
Yes.
the balance is remaining.
Right.
So if Carol's confirmed the balance is remaining and we've been told that everyone's paid, I think we're safe in rescinding the money.
John?
So there's a disconnect here because I do find this in the report that they submitted for Article 51, and they're stating a remaining balance of $68,103.51, which is a very different number from what.
Go ahead.
So I think that was because all of the bills weren't yet paid yet. There were committed, there was money committed but not yet invoiced,
I see.
if
This
memory
is,
serves.
So the money wasn't coming.
And we already took back a big chunk, if you remember, in
Right.
July.
okay, this report is dated August 27th, so you're saying that stuff has happened since then.
We hadn't approved the minutes. We voted in June, I said July, but in June, we voted to rescind 59,357, and those minutes weren't approved because we didn't have the July meeting. And so in August, the minutes were approved,
Mhm.
but Carol had to do the paperwork.
Yeah, I get it, okay.
So I think if we add
I see.
the 57 and the 8, are we
It
close?
comes up.
All right.
Any other questions? Donna?
Nope, I just did the
Math.
math. and-
It worked. Okay, we have a motion on the table. Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that takes care of that. All right, now there's another open balance of Article 50 in 2018 of $2,500. and this is for the Arboro House Building Conditions Assessment.
So I move that we rescind the $2,500 for the Albert House assessment.
Is there a second?
Second.
And then,
Discussion.
I have
Just-
this, sorry, I
Go
have the
ahead.
same question.
Charlene sent us a letter and I distributed to,
Oh, is this, so that's,
asking to rescind the $2,500.
right, but this says there's a zero remaining balance here for Article 50.
no, that was a different article.
Article 50. A different year?
Could be a different year.
This
Because
is
it was
Article 50.
2019. It should have been the
This is
20.
2018.
That's what this says. Article 50, May 2018, ATM, total,
You're in the wrong project. You're in the digitization of Harwich Oracle.
I can't read it from
You're
here.
not in the Albert House. Article 50 was Article 50, if I may, Mr. Chair, was
Go
a
ahead.
combined article that had 6 or 7 different
so we're on Albert.
projects in it. So,
Okay, so this is probably a typo or something,
nope,
right?
nope, one article addressed 5 or 6 different applications. So Article 50 had all the smaller articles, the 2,500 for the Albert House, the digitization of the Harwich Oracle for the library. I think it had the Mount Auburn Cemetery, Mount Pleasant Cemetery, amount in it. So there were like 5 or 6 in that Article 50.
They lumped them together because.
Thank you for clarifying.
I don't know why they lumped them together.
$50,000.
Oh, I see, there's a separate Albert House report. Okay, thank you for clarifying my confusion.
This is under discussion. Look at the numbers. You have a question, ask the
Okay.
question.
Yep.
Because where before the numbers weren't tracked that closely, the numbers are tracked very closely
It's
today.
harder coming into it, like I haven't seen
And
the
I
discussion
understand that.
before, so I can see the notes here.
Okay.
But that's all I have to go on now, so I'm kind of listening to try to,
Again, ask.
okay.
Anybody else under discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's a vote. Next open balance is Article 3 of 2018. I got 3.
No,
Says 3
we're
here.
missing the article. It's number 3 of 50,
Oh, on-
probably.
Okay, I'm just reading.
Yeah, no, it's my error.
Well, anyway, the open balance is $468.47, and that's left over from the Crossing Lights project.
And it's Article 50, number 3 of
Number
the
3 of 50.
2018. It's part of that.
Article.
So if I may, Mr. Chair, I move that we vote to rescind $468.47 from Article 50, number 3, from the annual
2018.
town meeting of 2018 relative to the crossing lights.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's a vote. All right, review new submitted CPC applications. Did everybody get the applications? Questions? Procedural questions? Mary?
So I'm just gonna ask, when it comes to the applications here, are we going to schedule people to come in for a specific date? Or, and second question, we saw a couple of people last night, Robin came before Historic, Patty Torek came before Historic as well to get Historic's input and support. I don't know that all of these applications have done the same as of yet. Is there any thought about extending that deadline and allowing, giving people a deadline with for when they need to come before us. I suspect we will not be voting until January-ish like we have in the past, but I throw that out there. I know the historic applications have come to historic. I'm not sure all the other ones have gone to the other subcommittees.
I think when I looked
What's the
through-
board's pleasure?
I think most of them, when I looked through, I saw most of them signed by other boards except for one, which I'm trying to look through my notes now, but I don't know that we need to extend. Personally, it seems like everyone's got a pretty complete package with the signatures for, I'd say, 95% of them.
I only know about the historic ones and
Okay,
and the
I'm
planning.
sorry,
board
your
ones.
first name again?
Kim,
Kim, I'm gonna have to write that.
here, we'll just turn it.
Perfect, perfect. Okay, James?
Yeah, as far as I know, the ones I was involved with anyway are completed.
What are your thoughts on the couple that aren't?
I'm not sure which ones they are, to be honest. I didn't.
Kim, did you jot down those?
Jot down some notes, I'm just trying to, there's quite a few here, so trying to figure out which ones.
May have been the two historic ones
It-
that came last night.
Oh, okay, because I did notice one or two that didn't have it, I had written it down, which ones,
This might be.
of course, it's.
You are.
Joe McFarland?
Hello,
Come
Joe.
on down.
All right, thanks, sorry.
Okay, we're gonna hold a discussion right there for a moment. Joe, introduce yourself, who you represent.
Okay. Joe McFarland, I represent the Housing Committee.
Kim, go ahead, we'll go right around the table again.
Jim
Oh,
Borgia, Housing Authority.
okay,
Jim Donovan, Real Estate and Open Space
Okay.
Committee.
Oh, Jan Moore, Board Secretary.
Dave Nixon, Chair, I'm
Okay.
the rec advocate.
Hi, Joe. Mary Maslowski. I'm the planning board rep.
oh, yeah.
John Ketchum, Conservation Commission.
Donna Kalanick, I am a citizen select board, Board of Selectmen, sorry, representative.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay,
I
you
just
got
want to
some catch
explain
up,
this
go ahead.
handout
Go
real
ahead.
quick.
Yeah,
Yep.
please.
So the night's report given by Rob, and
Yeah.
then on cemetery.
Yeah, I read all this.
We didn't have this report, so this is a new report. She
Oh.
wasn't here at the meeting last month. So we have a new application to add to your packet.
Okay,
A number on them.
on this? Or
No.
just a new one? Okay,
Yep.
good.
It just didn't make the packets.
Okay,
And then this is to go with Chase Library. It's the
Take it,
counting
Yep.
for the Chase Library application.
all right, thank you.
explain what you want to explain. Because right now, I'm doing something different in my head.
And now I don't, I was just,
Hold on,
okay.
okay. James, any more thought?
No, that's it.
Okay. Donna?
I just had a clarifying question, which is when you go through some of these applications, there's a place on it where the Board of Selectmen is supposed to initial. It's not initialed on any of those. It's not on every single one of them. So just because I'm new to the process, if somebody could explain why it's there for some and not for others, and if that occurs later in the process when they start reviewing warrant articles.
Go ahead, Mary.
So I can tell you a couple of boards ago, they wanted, there was a holdup on a lot of applications before I was on the board because they wanted all of these applications to get approvals, or at least attempt to get approvals from the underlying boards. So the last 2 years that I've been on the board, we've asked that that actually happens, that people go and seek support or not, as the case may be. The selectmen ones in particular, I know some of those applications have come before them already, and only because I've been to the meetings, they've chosen not to vote on them yet because they've been looking for additional information as far as support is concerned.
Okay.
So they haven't gotten that support yet. I don't know that it's that they're not going to, but there were significant questions the last probably 3 or 4 weeks, particularly on the housing, the 2 housing ones. So I think personally, I will put my 2 cents worth in. In the past, particularly last year, we gave people until the middle of December to come before the underlying boards if they hadn't, Board of Selectmen, wherever. I personally don't have a problem with that because we traditionally haven't voted till January. My 2 cents worth.
And that's true. I'll give you my 2 cents in a few minutes. John?
Well, I remain a little unclear about whatever the statutory requirement for those approvals, but my general feeling is, I agree with Mary, and whatever's there is there, and whatever isn't there, and should be part of the selection criterion. It's pretty clear to me we're gonna have to be doing some winnowing here this year anyway, so it's gonna be part of the judgments that we make, I believe.
Okay, one of the criteria, as far as the CPC is concerned, the CPC does not require outside boards to verify whether or not they're in favor of or in disfavor of. It's not a requirement. It's a policy of this committee, which I'm obviously against. To me, it's a simple process to follow. It's online, the information's there, and you have the ability to access the information, to get to the boards, to do your due diligence. And if you don't, but I'm mean-spirited. Anyway, I was outvoted. So, does that help answer?
May I ask
Go ahead.
another clarifying question? Okay, so when you say it's not a requirement, it's not a requirement under the statute?
Under the statute,
Okay.
it's not a requirement.
So the fact that the applicants go out and get letters of support, they try to do it typically from whatever area they are in, whether it be historic or conservation or housing. Is it counted in your scoring how many letters of support they have?
That's up to each individual at this table.
Okay, so there isn't
Policy.
a policy
No.
regarding that?
No.
Okay. I have to think about that for a moment.
Questions? Thank you.
Anything else?
None for me?
Go ahead.
No, none for me.
You wanted to bring up,
So my only other comment is, we haven't numbered these applications yet, and I don't know if it's worthwhile to go through and number them. We didn't before we passed them out.
I would be for that.
again, that's up to the pleasure of the board.
I would be
Right.
for that. I like organization, but that's just me. I'm kind of type A, so.
So we're gonna, is that the pleasure of the board? Consensus? Yes.
Yeah.
And we'll go ahead and do that.
So can we start maybe with, let's start with our historic ones. I'll just put one as the Historic District and Historical Commission's application.
What's the title of the act?
It
I'm gonna
says,
stick
there's
these
two,
numbers
'cause
into the spreadsheet I
you've got
have
two of
here,
them.
which
so it's right here. It says,
update of town historic,
updated historic areas and town property inventory.
that's number one.
So that's number one.
The total amount?
It is $34,500. His-
Expanded in here.
So this,
A lot of stuff.
It looks like this work.
that's what I'm doing, as I'm doing it. Okay, so just for everyone's edification who might not know, and you probably already do, but there are essentially 4 buckets that we can pull money from. We are required that 10% goes into a historic bucket, 10% goes into the housing bucket, and 10% goes into the open space bucket. The remainder is in administrative. So, so we can use that for, it's administrative, we can use it for anything.
Oh,
It's undesignated balance,
okay.
as opposed to administrative, sorry. I misspoke, so it's
And we'll look-
undesignated
and
balance.
When you look it up, it'll come under undesignated balance.
Okay.
So that money can be used for anything, but the 10% that is, you will see in our budget sheet from the finance director is required to be spent in those individual buckets. So as we're numbering these, I'm just starting with the historic, and then we'll do the housing, and then we'll do the,
Open space.
the open space.
And just so you understand, as the money gets diminished within those buckets, depending on what the votes are from the board, the money can be taken out of the undesignated to help complete whatever the criteria the board sets.
So,
Go ahead, John.
at least one of these proposals has a designation for which buckets, which doesn't look right to me, but I'm assuming for the moment, we're just gonna use the numbers in the proposal and deal with any rejustification or whatever later, right?
Donna?
Just for process-wise, so you have the applicants in to present their application. Do you vote on them that night, or
No.
like, okay, so you're gonna consider them as a whole, because there is more applications than there is money available.
Yes. But at some point in time, the board members, someone on this board will say, why don't we have a straw vote? That'll happen. We'll deal with that at the time. I'm not a big fan of straw votes, and it's happened before.
And because when the statute was created, there was not a bucket for recreation. Recreation is generally considered under the undesignated balance.
That's
because
correct.
Just, I think it's important if,
The statute was
you've not-
modified at a later date
right,
to include recreation, but it wasn't part of the original, but it is part of the statute. So,
And occasionally, if I may,
ahead.
occasionally we have some that are split, we've had traditionally some that are split open space and recreation.
yes.
So some of that would may come from open space, some of that would just traditionally have come from undesignated.
Right, and
Yeah.
one of these applications has a split in it.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
So Dave, when you say statute, like it's an MGL or is it a bylaw of the town?
no, it's the CPC statute, so
Yeah.
it comes from Mass General Law.
Okay.
So, getting back to numbering, second historic application, and these are not by preference, obviously they're just numbers. The Chase Library Association, we can number as 2. The total on that,
$10,696.
thank you, David. The third historic is the Pine Grove Cemetery. And the total there is 75,000.
Oh, the folder, okay.
So a lot of these apps have a little box right at the top. And so historic preservation is HP, 1, 2, 3. And we'll do the same thing for housing is CH, which is what's coming next.
So, housing, first is, so I would call it application number 4. So if you want to call it CH4, you can, I was just going to call it 4. That is the Community Development Partnership's request for the Lower Cape Housing Institute.
So that's 7,500.
Thought it was,
CDP,
CDP.
thought it was 15,000. What,
over
how'd
2
I
years.
get that?
Over
Oh,
2
that's,
years.
oh, okay, all right, I got that wrong.
which, yeah, it's right.
Okay.
This is one application for 1 year.
Application number 5 is the Harwich Affordable Housing Trust application in the amount of $550,000. That is to fund the trust and a part-time housing coordinator.
Well, it's more than that, right?
Nope, that's
550 just to fund the coordinator?
the trust and the, to
Trust,
fund
yeah,
the trust and the
50,000 to
housing
the
coordinator.
I missed the 50, sorry.
Yeah.
So this new one tonight is also housing.
Right. Housing Authority. That's the 200,000.
Okay, we
I'm
have-
just giving this to
all
know,
right, it's not in front of me right at the moment.
200.
I don't see that.
Yeah, I see it, I'm
We're
just
giving
looking
it in
for
your
it.
packet tonight,
Okay,
the one that says copy. So that guy.
got it.
Okay,
So 550 is number 4 or 5, Mary?
550 is number 5. So number 6, before,
6
is a Housing Authority's application?
Yep,
rental assistance program.
I'm looking for it, I just don't see it.
We just got it tonight.
Yeah,
Looks like
it has
this.
copy on the, in blue.
Yeah, it's,
Just looking for it in my stack here, give me a second.
That's it.
So this is number 6?
Yeah.
so that's 200,000.
That's 200,000 for rental assistance program.
Correct.
Okay, number 7 is a split. It is the Affordable Housing Trust and the Real Estate and Open Space Committee. This is, project title is Deacon's Folly Road Acquisition. So this will be number 7.
This is the 1.2?
This is the 1.2. So it is proposing 600,000 out of housing and 600,000 out of open space. Do I have another open space? I'm just looking to make sure.
Walker's Pond project.
Which is this one.
well, Depot Road crossing lights, they're proposing,
That's what it's for?
Open Space Conservation for
Pond.
So here it is, yep.
250,000.
So I have,
250?
so we are on,
That's 8.
Yes.
if I may, number 8, Harwich Real Estate and Open Space. It is the 6.5 acre Walker's Pond Woods project, $250,000.
Those look like reports from the meeting last week,
It could be.
not apps, we're only in applications.
Okay.
Okay.
So here's my question for the chair. Pleasant Bay Community Boating, are we calling that rec?
It is under.
It is under rec. Okay.
And that's for
Then-
25,000.
So before we get to that one, can we do
Good.
number 9 as the
Yep.
Conservation Administrator's application for the maintenance of town-owned conservation lands? It's $20,000.
Go ahead.
So
And
that is 9. Yes.
that's under recreation?
I'm sorry?
That's under
No,
recreation?
no, I'm
No,
still under
no,
open
no.
space.
Okay, great.
I was doing
We were
open
just
space.
talking
Okay,
about
good.
something.
Yeah.
I was concerned.
That's why I flipped back, sorry.
All right.
Nope, I have that under open
jumped.
space.
That's 20, you said?
That is
20,000.
20,000.
Number 9.
Got it.
Now you go on.
Now I think the rest are all rec, correct?
so Depot Road South has allocated 50% to open space. The lights, the crossing lights, bike path crossing lights.
Okay, let's see.
Yeah, this is number 8.
I'm missing that application. Am I? This is the, where's the depot?
Number 8, Open
That-
Space
that's-
Conservation for
It's the
250,000.
one that you don't get to the title until about
Right.
Yeah.
3/4 of the way
Let's
through,
get
the
the
one
whole
that has.
This one, oh, there it is, I see.
Okay, yep.
Okay. So if I may, number 10 is the Depot Road South Bikeways Crossing Lights in the amount of $27,000. So, and we had this as half and half, is that what the split was?
Yeah, half recreation, half open space.
Right before that should be conservation.
Now, that's bikeways, right?
That is Bikeways,
That's interesting.
Bikeways Committee.
We never did that before.
So,
What, open space
27.
allocation?
so we're saying 13.5 from
Who signed this one?
open space. in 13.5 from
That's what they're proposing.
undesignated. I'm just,
Sorry, which one did you just?
the bikeways.
Bikeways,
So number
10,
10,
number 10.
Okay.
it's
sorry.
27, and if I did my math right, they are proposing half from open space, half from recreation. Now, I think the rest are all recreation only, so,
Pleasant Bay Boating says open space and rec also.
Close.
They've checked off
Yep.
open space and rec.
25,000.
Yeah, okay, well, it's just,
So that's that would be 12 for 25,000.
that'd be
11.
12.5, right?
Yeah, for each.
Yep.
But I'm just saying number.
So, number
Number
11, actually.
Number 11.
After bikeways, it's application 11.
Got it.
Application number 11. And if it's 25, we're saying 12.5
12, yep.
open space, and they're proposing 12.5 rec. Now, they may actually propose a different distribution, but I didn't see it laid out there. Okay, thank you, Kim. So now, I think the last ones are all rec.
There we go.
We have Recreation Commission Department. Number 12 is the Sand Pond Revitalization Project, Phase 2. It is $83,500. Number 13 is Harwich Recreation Department, Brooks Field and Senior Memorial Field Fencing Project. It is in the amount of $112,000. And 14 is the Harwich Rec Department and Commission's White House Field Lighting Project in the amount of $455,360.
Should that number's correct, because I had a different number.
The number I see here says project amount
455,
requested
yep.
455,360.
Okay,
Is it more or less than what you thought?
it's more.
Okay. That's what it says on both ends, so. And then if I am correct, that is all of them.
School?
no,
The
Oh,
playground.
of course, it's sitting right there,
you missed that.
because it's in a book. So last but certainly not least, the Harwich Community Playground. So our applicant here, I'm not even, it says the applicant is the Harwich Elementary School Parent Teacher Organization. And the requested amount is $641,035.34.
Really?
Different number, where'd I get that number?
That's what I got too.
It says 681,034 is the cost estimate less, just about $40,000 that they have raised.
Oh, I see. So what, I'm sorry, what is the actual number?
641,035.34.
34.
Thanks, everyone. Talk about a mind block sitting in front of me.
Any questions?
So that leaves a total of 15 applications.
Donna?
So do we begin by determining that we agree that each is eligible for CPA? Or how is that process determined after they come in?
They're gonna make their presentations to you and tell you why
Okay,
it's eligible for CPA funding.
okay. And is that part of the vote that you determine first before you vote on whether or not you're gonna allocate the money, that it is CPA eligible?
Actually, we haven't done that in the past. That's an interesting concept.
I'm just, my second meeting,
It's
we
open-
have a
it's
whole
open to the
bunch of
floor.
applications.
No, it's open to the
I
floor.
am like Kim, I'm a very type A person. I want to know the rules, I want to follow the rules, and I want everyone else to follow the rules.
That may or may not happen, young lady. Little
What if I
levity goes a
don't
I
long
will
way.
try
The
to
rules-
enforce the rules. Okay, everybody's laughing, that's good, right?
That's the levity.
May I? We have traditionally had those discussions amongst ourselves during deliberations over
Okay,
some, and have traditionally pressed the applicants to explain why they believe it was eligible, and then we have debated amongst ourselves during our discussions as to the yes or no's.
okay.
Traditionally, doesn't have to continue that way, but that's how we have in the
Yes.
last 2 years I've been here.
Before I acknowledge Robin, years past, the chairmans, plural, have always taken responsibility of presenting the historical aspects of why the application is good for CPC. And this chairman chose not to do that. It's up to the applicants to do that. It's their application, it's not this board's application. So they present to us here, and they also present it to town meeting. I will not speak for them. That's up to them. They're asking for the money. Does that help clarify anything?
Yes, so part of the discussion when deliberations happen is whether or not we believe that it's eligible
Yes.
for CPA funding.
Yes.
Okay, great, I'll check that box off.
John? Any,
I don't have anything to say, no.
James?
Yeah, no comments this time?
Kim?
I have lots of questions, but for the applicants.
Okay. I'm sorry, your first name again?
Joe.
Joe,
No, I'm good for now.
okay.
Yep.
Joe, just so you know, any questions you have about that need to go to the finance director or the town administrator, go through me.
Okay.
I'll set up the meetings for you, ask the questions for you, so that, to keep the amount of traffic down to a minimum.
Yeah.
So, Robin?
How much is available in each bucket? I'm just curious. It seems like an awful lot of money being asked for, so
All
I'm
right.
just curious what the,
It is a lot of money.
Again, this is fluid. It changes. Presently, under the undesignated fund,
Where's your? That's the sheet I'm looking for. So we have fiscal year 20 is not available to us.
no,
So our estimates are these numbers right now, right?
Fiscal year
Right.
what did I
21.
just say to you?
I thought you were going about it, sorry.
Okay. Undesignated fund. By the way, just understand, and if we need, I need to ask the finance director to come in again and explain it. They've changed the format that we use as far as funding is concerned. We can use estimates that are certified, but if the money hasn't been certified at the end of the year by the state, we can't use that. So we jump a year, we go to the next year, and we use whatever criteria Carol sets up for that estimate. It's convoluted as heck. If you put it on a spreadsheet, you'll have a very difficult time following. So, and again, these balances change. What we have today isn't necessarily what we're gonna have 3 weeks from now. We just rescinded a bunch of money. So it is gonna change. The target will change. Right now, the undesignated balance is $1,648,079.13.
1 million,
Gonna make a, give
six
your
hun-
numbers, and then I'm gonna make an explanation.
Okay,
I'm trying to put these into the spreadsheet, so.
all right, it's 1,648,079.13.
Okay,
0.13.
got it, okay.
The next is open space. That is $492,760.98.
492, 760, 98.
Correct. The historic preservation is $489,164.21 and 21 cents.
489, 164, 21.
The community housing is $375,456.28.
375, 456, 28.
For a grand total of $2,994,453.58.
Oh, will you say that again? I just added up the four numbers you gave, and they didn't come out to what you just said. Okay.
So-
I'm just doing what
All
the
right, I'm
printout
just-
says.
This
So-
is just,
so
this
one-
is for informal information
So
here.
let me go across, 1648079.13,
Yeah,
492,760.98,
yeah,
489,164.21,
yeah,
375,456.28.
right.
And
So-
then,
So it's an Excel sum, so the sum is right. I don't know about the rest of it, but
what do you have for your sum?
$3,005,460.60.
So there is, it may be due to a deficit. What's your difference?
I forget what,
So let me give you
290.
299445358.
it's like around $10,000 difference, so it's probably, for our purposes now, it probably doesn't matter at all, right? I mean, we're just trying to ballpark things at the
Right,
moment, right?
right. And again, it's gonna be over 3 million simply because the money we rescinded tonight.
Yeah, okay, so there may be
It's a good thing I
things-
put the caveat in there that this is fluid.
Yeah, right.
However,
The caveat that it won't work in the Excel spreadsheet.
so just the one thing to keep in mind is that the majority of this money is anticipated revenue. So what Dave touched upon when he started, our funds will be certified. So when the funds are certified through fiscal
19.
19,
'cause
thank you.
18's been served.
So 19 will be certified. We are currently in fiscal year 20. We cannot spend fiscal year 20 receipts. So when we are voting, we are either voting balances that are in place as of FY 19 that are certified, or we are voting for anticipated revenues under fiscal year 2021. So the fiscal year 20 numbers are informational only. They're not, those funds aren't available to us when voting this round of funds. So that's why when you're looking at the numbers that you're getting, sometimes there are fiscal 20 numbers in there as well for informational purposes, but we can't touch those when we're in the fiscal year. So, if that makes any sense.
See, I would rather have, you're absolutely correct. But for the new members, again, I'd rather have Carol do the process of information.
Absolutely.
The one thing I can tell you is, whether or not you know this, 3% of the money, over $1 million, comes from the surcharge on your levy. So, in case some folks aren't aware of that. We also have the state revenue that comes in. It used to be matching, has been matching since the dawn of time, since I've looked at it. And then we also get, interest from the money that we have, and that's part of the process. But for those numbers, what I have here on this sheet, I prefer to have the finance director give them to you directly. And I will set that up for the next meeting, if she's willing to come in. Because it would be much better to tell us all again, rather than send you down individually. John?
So, another clarification question for me, which is, 10% is required in open space, historic, and community housing, but my question is, 10% of what? 10% of the total that's allocated for this round? 10% of this year's 3% levy?
That's exactly
Yes.
right.
10% of the receipts.
Which would be the
So,
interest, the levy, and the state.
but it doesn't include leftover funds from previous years.
No, it doesn't.
So it only has to be 10% of this year's, and when you say interest, it's income on the funds for this, for whatever.
Particular year.
I
Correct.
see.
So if I may, your prior years have already been bucketed. So where it shows you the balances,
see.
she's given us the balances,
They just have to stay in that bucket.
they have to stay in that bucket. So what will happen is, for example, what we did last year is we would vote a portion out of the existing and then a portion out of the anticipated revenues. But any of the money we rescinded also goes back into the bucket that it came from.
So we don't actually have to spend the 10%, we just have to allocate the 10% to that bucket, and if we don't use it all, then
It stays for the next time around. Right. We don't have to spend it, but we have to allocate it.
right.
It's reserved, like.
I just got it from her.
And what's important about that is that you can't take the historic money and use it for another purpose. It must remain with historic. So even though we just said that we have approximately $3 million, we really don't, because the historic requests are below the historic balance, and you can't borrow that money. Community preservation is very prescriptive, which it should be. It sounds confusing, but once you get your head wrapped around it, you know. And my question is, so will we get an updated spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay, before we start
Would
considering
you
the
like it
application?
in Excel or Munis?
Either one is fine with me, but if you're not used to looking at Munis, you're gonna probably not enjoy it very
No,
much.
Munis is a horror show.
Well,
It's not.
For those of us in the
It's
private
not,
sector,
but
yes, it is. Anyway, questions?
my question,
Go ahead, Mary.
are we gonna invite people? Who are we going to invite the
Well,
next?
that's the next,
for the
after
next
we get
meeting.
through this issue,
Okay,
that'll be next.
The question on the extension of the deadline was never resolved.
no, it wasn't.
All right, then we
Do
should,
we want to resolve it, or
Why
do we
don't we-
want to?
you don't have to.
do you want to put it
Saying it
under?
was never resolved.
Why don't we do it on
Well,
a
it's-
case-by-case
It
basis?
it is here, so it's under discussion.
Doesn't
We
mean we have to
just,
vote it.
it's under C, so we should probably. Well, it's essentially what we've been discussing.
I'm gonna be practical and say that if the selectmen voted in 2 weeks to support an application that they haven't yet supported, then each one of us is gonna weight that however we feel. You're either gonna take it into consideration or not. So maybe it doesn't matter.
Okay, John?
I agree with Mary.
Any other thoughts?
So Mary, what you're suggesting is that we're gonna each weight whatever support or lack of support comes in determining whether we think the application should be supported, since it's not an actual criteria.
We don't have a formal scoring process.
Okay.
It's not like we have not traditionally scored everything and gone with a total score on applications or anything like that. It's been, I think we've allowed them to come in, and I think that's technically how we've done it, is people have weighted them in their own minds and help them decide or not to decide to vote on an application.
And where there's one applicant that has more than one request, are they asked to prioritize those requests?
It's up to the board.
We have on some occasions. This chair has on some occasions, and he hasn't on other occasions, so I will rat him out on that.
But you, as a board member, are free to ask.
That's exactly
the
right.
applicant
Right,
what
That's
their
why it's up to the
That's what we've
pleasure of
done.
the board.
okay.
Are we following this?
I am, the
Do you
extended
need some
deadline.
ibuprofen right now?
No, I can't take that anymore. That's C, how many boards, committees have not come in on an approval or not approval?
So good question. I haven't looked at all of them. I
There's a
think
couple. There's one consistently that I deal with in rec,
Yeah.
and that's bikeways. There'll be a couple more, the school.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the school did come in and make a presentation, so I'm incorrect on that.
So we
They
can move
haven't gone to
forward without,
Selectmen.
Yeah, again, it's up to the board.
okay.
The board has a policy, and the board's policy was yes. How you weigh that in your own mind? But technically, as far as the act's concerned, it's not required. And that's what I follow. So. Next. Application review process. I'm gonna let Jan lead this, because Jan's gonna set up the times for us.
You actually told me don't do that.
No, go ahead and do it. You've got the calendar.
Okay,
You put it all together.
Well, we know that we have 15 applications. Currently, right now, we have one meeting in November and one meeting in December. That will not cover the amount of time a presenter will be allowed to come up here and give their presentation. So, we need to add more meeting dates. And in that, you have to calculate how big some of these applications are. We know two
But
of
we do put a limit on them.
well, yeah,
Time limit?
time
Yes.
limit. And the reason I say November and December is because we want the presentations done in the next couple of months, because the committee will then, when the presentations are done, the committee then figures out if they're going to be supported or not supported. And that takes time. So,
because we need to then get articles ready for town meeting,
well,
and they have to be
yeah.
ready for the warrant timeline for the selectmen, so.
But usually, like last year, we had 8. We could handle it in a few meetings. There's no way we can handle this in
No.
2 meetings. So, as far as there's a few big when they come in here, we actually have them on a timer. Y'all probably didn't know that. We actually, now Mary will sit with the timer, and
much
they'll
time?
be given X amount of time.
How much time,
Thanks, Kathy.
What was it? How
We
much
give them
time?
10 minutes?
I don't remember, 10 or 15, I think.
Yeah.
We'll give them 10 minutes.
We let them talk, and then, just like we did tonight, Dave will go through, and each of you will be allowed to ask questions. And so you probably already have your questions handy.
Yeah,
you've
because
already
what they
got
give
the
you will be a
applications.
repetition of what the application
Yeah.
is.
But
So-
if I
You might
may.
have more supporting
Hold on.
information, like, we've now gotten more bids, or I hear my new supporting boards, you know, that's what usually comes in.
But
Okay, go ahead, Mary.
we have not traditionally limited ourselves to the amount of time that we ask questions.
That's
We
a
have
separate-
we have limited the applicant to
Right.
give us
Right.
an initial presentation.
No,
And
the board takes as much time as the board
Thank you.
needs.
I just wanted to
Please.
clarify that.
And then tell about how you limit the audience. Well, with the
It's not
appropriate
limiting, I don't limit
process.
the audience. What I do is, in the very part of this, in the very beginning of this meeting, I open the meeting up to the general public to have their say. And that's it at that point. The rest of it is this board doing its business. And that's between the members of this board and whoever's in front of us with the application. Now, if someone catches something or wants to say something, there's no reason why they can't can't come back to the next meeting, in the very beginning of the meeting, and say what they need to say. And I do it for a reason, because there was a lot of contention when I first got on this board. And this seems to be the simplest process to take care of that contention. And we've been doing this for a few years now. If you have any recommendations, I'm more than willing to listen to it. So,
Can I make a recommendation that
Go ahead,
we,
Mary.
that we add some meetings?
yes.
So, if our first meeting, we have a meeting in November on.
Now, wait a minute, hold on.
Yep.
You're doing this because you sit on 3 boards, or chair 3 boards, or 2 boards, which?
I'm on 4.
Oh, you're on 4, so you're gonna hold off for a meeting. What do you have for
No, no.
calendar for us? Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
Yes, hold on,
all right, so,
go ahead.
all right, so we have November and December, and we actually have big fat calendars here.
Mhm.
And we know currently, right now, that we're already November 14th.
Yep.
Is a scheduled meeting, and December 12th. And it'd probably be better, rather than say the new meetings, is to know how long these applications, because they're not, some of them are not a slam dunk.
No, well, I think,
What I mean is, I talk in shorthand, I had boys. You have 2 minutes, or you just don't get the, whatever you want.
I'm
out.
gonna throw it out there.
Yeah.
I think we need at least one other meeting in November, and I would either propose that we do November 7th or November 21st, as the 28th is Thanksgiving. I know that means it's back-to-back weeks, but I think we need a minimum of 2 in November and a minimum of 2 in December, or we are gonna have a 10-hour meeting before Christmas, because it's just, there are 15 applications.
It's an internal joke that I'm laughing at, because my vice chair and I requested to have a meeting, and we had a meeting at a time that was inappropriate.
It's quite all
I don't
right.
know if it was Mother's Day's fault, I don't know, I think.
It was
But
not-
anyway.
It was Valentine's
it's
Day,
Valentine's
yes, and then he didn't show up, that was the problem.
Anyway, moving on.
So you think 4 meetings would cover these 15 apps?
I think we need at least 4 meetings
I
to
think we
cover the
need at least
15,
5.
the 15 apps.
John,
It's my 2 cents.
John,
I propose we schedule 3 meetings in November.
excuse me, couldn't hear you.
I propose that we schedule 3 meetings in November, starting with the 7th and going through, and see how we're doing then. To
Consecutive
see
Thursdays.
3 consecutive weeks, as much as I don't really like that idea, but then, whoa,
Or we could do 2 consecutive meetings in October,
Oh,
like next week.
hold on, go ahead, finish your thought.
I can't make next week, so I'm not gonna propose that. But 3 in November, and add also 1 in December, but give ourselves the option to cancel the extra 1 in December if we make tons of progress in November.
James,
Okay.
My only comment, I can't make the 7th, but I could do the 21st of November.
write that down.
Yeah, I am.
I also cannot make the 7th, but I could make the 21st. And so every applicant is invited to come in. That's, yes. And are you?
They're set. They're given a set, we don't
they're-
have all 15
Oh,
every
okay, so
time.
you give them the day
Calendar.
and the time, and they either get here or too bad.
Exactly.
I like that, actually.
Well, that's what
Because
they've done in the
you'd make
past.
yourself crazy, right? Trying to, and do you try to arrange them by bucket? So are you hearing,
Sometimes yes and sometimes no, because some of them are bigger than others and will
Okay.
take more time.
okay,
So
if you
we,
s-
we put that aside,
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know, jump.
And it has to be a Thursday night, I guess, is my other question. So if
It doesn't
everybody
have to be,
can't
but
do
it's up to the
the
consensus of the board.
7th or one of the nights, you can look at another night, assuming there's availability for a room.
I would be happy to also do a November 6th, a Wednesday night. If we couldn't make November 7th, I could do November 6th.
There may be a conservation.
Not sure about the
commission
5th.
which,
There is,
be a conflict for John and I.
All right.
and I won't be here
Kim,
anyway.
Just wanted to make one comment we're talking about 15 applications, but possibly it's really 11 because number 12, 13, and 14, which is all one department, might be able to be one, wouldn't that be all scheduled in one meeting, or they have to present?
Yes, that will be, yes, that's
Really,
true.
it's 11.
That's true.
Some of them will have points that will still need to be discussed, they'll still take the
Still
time.
take the time, okay,
Right,
okay.
and he's very efficient, but each project will still have its points and merits we'll have to go over.
Joe?
So far, I can make all those, I just, the 20, yeah, I can do all those dates so far.
And you folks had an issue with November 6th, because
6th
that's
and
your
7th.
Wednesday, that's your conservation meeting.
Yeah.
So my issues on Tuesdays would be the 2nd and the 4th Tuesday. So mine would be the 12th and the 26th would be the 2 days that I would have Tuesday difficulties. But I would be happy to schedule around those.
What Tuesdays does that leave?
So that makes if it's the 2nd and the 4th, it's the 12th and the 26th. So it's the Tuesday of,
That you're available,
that I'm not available.
that you're not available.
So I could do the 5th or the 19th.
The 5th or the
I
19th?
can't do the 19th because that's the Housing Authority meeting.
What about Tuesday the 5th?
I could do Tuesday the 5th.
Can everybody do
Actually,
Tuesday the 5th?
Is that
That's a yes for me.
everyone likes
It's
the
a
fifth?
yes for you?
The
Look at that.
Tuesday, the 5th of November.
Yes.
All right,
Yes, that-
Ding,
I don't know
ding.
where we'll be, but we'll be someplace, so let's not worry about locations if we switch Thursdays.
that's another thing, we're not guaranteed to have this room, and this room is televised, so
The others are as well now.
all of them?
Yep.
In the library, too?
is now filming, yes. So
Okay,
we're good.
just so we're all aware.
So Jan, that would make the 5th,
What have you got?
or Tuesday the 5th,
The 14th,
and then,
and it
what-
looks like the 21st was okay with 3 of y'all, Jim, Donna, and Joe.
Mary.
I'm fine with the 21st.
and
You
Yes.
okay?
I'm good with, I want this over
So the
with.
21st, so that's the 5th, the 14th, and the 21st are November's 3 meeting dates.
And you're still gonna hang on to the 17th in December? As a
Well, we
main-
haven't looked at December yet. We have definite, we have a meeting scheduled for the 12th, Thursday the 12th. Do we want to shoot for the 5th?
One other thing for the board, and please take this to heart. You're not available. Please, no explanations
yeah.
beyond that. You're just not available. Okay? Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
So if for some reason we're not available to get to all of these meetings, but we watch the tape, read through the application, we can still vote on them?
it's not a permitting board, yes.
The attorney just said yes.
That doesn't, I'm not giving a legal opinion, I'm saying I don't think we've held firm on that
That's,
in the past.
I disagree with that thought. We want you here to participate, that's why you're here,
Right, I understand that,
okay?
yeah.
But if somebody has an issue and misses a meeting,
We're volunteers.
right. So if somebody misses a meeting,
I don't want to go any further than that.
Okay.
So if we're trying to add another meeting in December, we know that the 12th is our official already committed date. Is there another date in December that anybody would like to volunteer, would like to say, I'll shoot for that date?
I'd recommend we do the week before, do the 5th.
I agree.
Let's just do them all in a row, and
The 5th, that's the, unfortunately, the Thursdays in December, both the 5th and the 19th, I'm not available.
about the 4th on the Wednesday.
No, that's conservation.
So you've already done 3 in November, you're doing the 12th of December, so you got 4 meetings, and they're all designated to do this right
These
here.
applications.
So you're gonna need 5 now?
Joe, my first
may.
month, my first year, we had 16 applications, and we met 4 and 5 hour meetings every single week
Oh, my God.
until January. So, I'm
He
just,
doesn't realize what he's gotten into.
I'm just throwing that out there. There are a lot of applications, there's a lot of money in these
You're only giving these
applications.
people 10 minutes to talk?
Oh, for the
Again.
initial.
Everything that you need is in that application.
I can see it.
They're
It's
gonna
very
reiterate
descriptive.
all that back to us. So formulate your questions, whatever you have,
Yeah,
from the application.
yeah, do my homework. I got it. All right.
So I would,
I would say 3 a night is usually,
I would suggest
so I'd say that's.
I could do the 3rd of December, I could do the 4th of December, I could do the 11th of December. We could do back-to-back nights and do the 11th and 12th.
You said the 3rd, the 11th, and what?
Why
I
did
missed
I
The
know?
3rd, the 4th, and the 11th.
Sorry.
Is the 3rd a Tuesday?
The 3rd is a Tuesday. Do you have a Tuesday issue?
No, Tuesdays are actually
I
not
get it.
bad for
Oh,
me.
good.
I have a Monday issue.
Okay.
Trust me, this is a big headache.
Donna, you're a yes
Gotcha.
for the 3rd?
I am a yes for the
Okay.
3rd.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I'm good with that.
I'm okay with the 3rd and the 11th.
3rd and that was the 12th, isn't
Then
it?
the 12th.
It is.
12th is our
Regular,
schedule,
oh,
already
I
scheduled.
got you, okay, yeah.
So, you know, 2 nights in a row, that'll keep it all fresh in your mind.
Did everybody say they could do the 3rd?
Yeah, I can.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
the 3rd.
we're good.
And then the 12th.
We
is
got
next,
I
right?
think so.
Right.
We're
Right.
doing
That's better,
another
the 3rd and the
cover.
12th, yeah.
How do you want to categorize these? You wanna-
If we get
Doesn't
too
matter.
deep in December,
Doesn't
though,
matter to me.
they
Yes.
can't come.
Right, right.
Take the easiest ones
Someone,
first.
you know, they have real lives.
Take the toughest one first. This is going to
So
be,
if
I
we're the
think you
3rd,
start with that
that's the
myself.
2 in December
It's
we
gonna
need.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Because you're
Yeah, I
gonna have
think
a lot
we-
of questions.
So
That's
is
fine.
everyone
I think we're
casual
good.
with the 3rd? Can we-
The
is
3rd
it
is
all a
perfect.
yes?
yes.
Yes.
Everyone is a yes? So we're meeting on the 3rd and the 12th in December.
Yes.
And I would think by the end of, by the 3rd meeting in November, we should have a sense as to how far away we are,
Right.
and if the 2 in December is gonna be enough. Just throwing that out there.
We hope.
So,
All right,
just
so
motivate us to be efficient.
That works for me.
we've got through that. Now, it comes down to the applications themselves. What's the pleasure of the board? How do you want to do the applications themselves? Which ones do you want to bring in first?
Will we number them? Should we just go in order?
I wouldn't necessarily we did number them, you're correct.
Some
I'd
of them
rather
are fine.
set it up that we do certain applications first.
Okay.
The school should be first on the agenda. It's going to be the most difficult.
I would,
Which are you talking about?
School,
The playground.
like,
playground.
Yeah.
I would also like to suggest
Go ahead.
the Deacon's Folly one, where it's a large, or it's probably our next largest application. Or it's our largest application.
that's number 7. for the
I think if
1 point.
we,
So, just about that particular proposal?
School,
No, I'm talking about Deacon's
Deacon's Folly,
Folly.
go ahead.
My understanding is the actual numbers depends on an
Yes,
appraisal of
right.
a property. Does anybody here have any idea when that's gonna happen?
So couldn't that be a very short meeting?
Well, that could be,
Because you don't have a real number, so why would you vote? I would not vote on that. You wouldn't vote on that.
You're not
right?
going to,
Gonna
you're
vote
not,
until-
we're not, there's no
Oh, it's gotta be
requirement
the
that you.
discussion.
They just
Okay.
a discussion.
Okay.
all right, so it doesn't matter actually whether we have that number or not. They're gonna present and hopefully we have the number by the time we're actually making a call.
There was one other than Deacon's Folly, but we just got the information tonight. That was the Chase Library.
Yeah.
They put an application in, they didn't have a number, they just got the number to
Yeah,
us
right.
tonight.
Okay,
Done.
So, just for argument's sake, because the appraisal's pretty important, if the appraisal comes in higher than the request, they're stuck with what the request was, or they're allowed to modify their request?
The other thing is, going to that question,
Yeah.
this board has the ability to adjust the number on the page,
Yeah.
up or down.
So knowing when the appraisal is gonna come in is actually pretty important. I believe, in order to have a,
To make a reasonable,
to have a fair, discussion about it. So is there a way that we can find out when the appraisal might be coming in?
I do have some idea of, I believe it's expected to be done by then.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I believe it's expected to be done by we were talking about the 5th,
Yeah,
November 5th.
so it's already been out.
I think it was ordered about a month ago.
Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, maybe if we don't know, we think it might be by the 5th,
we
maybe
push
you
it
put it on the
next meeting.
14th, give it another week. I know
Yeah, I
these
agree.
things sometimes take a little bit longer than what we expect, so.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Okay.
The board's pleasure.
Why don't,
Is that a consensus?
What are we forming consensus on?
Donna?
Playground is on the 5th. The Deacon's Folly open space will be on the 14th. That's as far as we've gotten.
Okay.
I'm happy to put the historic 34-5 on there. Bob Joan is not here tonight, but he hopefully will
Which
be,
night, Judy?
On the 5th?
what,
On the 5th?
on the 5th.
Thank you.
And I'll reach out to him and see if he can't make that meeting.
Which one's
For
that,
us.
Mary?
That is the 34-5 for
Oh,
the
yeah.
historic first one.
What's-
It's a historic
HP
commission.
one.
And you can always put historic last, being that it's probably gonna be Bob or myself doing it, so we'll be here. So we won't be keeping somebody here late.
I'm sorry. This is the number 1.
Correct.
You're putting on the
34-5.
14th?
No, the 5th.
The 5th.
Okay. I'm just putting these in the spreadsheet too.
I just think it's an easy one to go after the school.
Yeah.
If the school takes a long time, we're, you know,
My general
two of us are
thought
board members, so.
is it would be a good idea to front load the big numbers, which are more likely to be taking more time.
I was hoping we were doing exactly that without saying it.
My only concern is that I don't think you have time to do the school and all 3 recs in the same meeting. That was why I didn't suggest that. David, do you think differently?
No, I can't do that. I can't. No, because,
So-
No problem.
okay. How do you want to?
I don't think you have, I don't think you have enough time to do the school and all 3
I
recs.
don't disagree with you. But what else do you want to put in with the school?
Maybe something smaller, like the community housing,
Bikeways.
the CDP,
Yeah,
smaller
the
one.
Lower Cape Housing, the CDP.
Yeah,
You can
and then
do
do the
that?
historic commission one, so you can do those 4.
What? Oh, we're trying to put 4. So,
Okay,
What
okay,
number
what
is
was
that?
the other one? I
Yeah.
missed
So if
one.
you do the housing authority, the CDP, and the historic
CH4.
commission.
We're still doing historic 5 on the 5th though, right, Mary? As well?
Historic.
wait,
Or historic, 5 isn't historic, 5 is affordable housing trust.
and put that
Oh,
on the
hold
5th.
on, Mary, I just,
Well, no,
I
you
guess,
got-
no,
no.
No, no, no.
no.
Oh, wait a minute. Where,
Jen, go ahead and lead. What do you have?
What do you have?
I thought that's, I may have gotten this wrong, but I know I just got messed up. So, on the 5th, we have the school, the R15, we have the HP one, and I thought we were just adding the Lower Cape Housing,
And I think Kim
which is
suggested the
CH4.
I said-
CDP,
The CDP, yeah.
CDP.
yeah, is Lower Cape Housing Institute.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so we have CH4, we have 3 for that night.
And I think Kim had also suggested,
No, I just said the CDP.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, I thought you had said the
Can we take
the
some?
housing authority as
Can we
well.
take
not yet.
another
That's a
small-
bigger one. I was thinking a smaller one for that night. 'cause
Another
there's
small one
schools.
would be Bikeways.
Want to take bikeways?
Yes, sure.
So we're in bikeways on this one?
On the 5th, yes.
So
Okay.
which one number is that?
Where is Bikeways?
15,
10, R10.
4, and 10.
All right, so that's one meeting, and we've accomplished 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay, so the next date is,
The 14th of November, starting with Deacons,
Yeah.
and then,
We did Housing Authority there, it is a bigger one.
I was actually gonna say do the 3 recreations,
Oh,
but
yeah, that was a really good one, that's right.
after Deacons?
You don't want to do the 2 open space together? No?
It's up to the board.
Yeah.
I would say that that's a good idea. I think the Open Space Committee would have no problem presenting them pretty,
so
with
OS.
relatively small amount of time, and it's also, might be nice to compare them, because it may be unlikely that they both
so we're talking,
end up being
7
approved.
and 8.
Well, we already have 7 on it, so.
Right, so 8 is the Walker's Pond Woods project,
okay.
OS 8.
Well, if we're doing 8, then well, then should we add 9 and do, because Amy will be here, I would bet.
Yeah.
For Walker's Pond, and then Amy can,
3 of those are
Deacons,
Hefty.
Folly, Walker's Pond, what else?
OS 9.
9.
9.
It's the,
Maintenance,
Which
which
is
is
the
maintenance,
maintenance.
all that, we have to have
The
that name
maintenance.
different.
Town-owned conservation land.
That's how she wrote it.
I know she wrote it. Yeah,
Take control.
sorry,
No, you're right.
I just don't want that going on
But
like that.
I gotta think about that one. I do not wanna exclude it, the way it's, because there's another issue with another application that we're gonna deal with. Let me think about that. I understand the concern. And the concern is absolutely right. Donna?
Have you had an application for that same purpose in the past?
In the past, no.
Okay, all right, thank you.
So,
I think it was, I
Yeah,
can't.
It's not on the agenda to discuss.
So, we have Deacon's Folly, we have Walker's Pond,
Deacon's Folly, Walker's Pond, and
Amy's conservation.
Conservation,
thank you.
number 9.
Now we're on the 21st of November.
Awesome.
We do,
Do you wanna add Pleasant Bay Boating to that as well?
no,
You don't wanna do
this is
4 that
pretty
night?
full.
Well,
You think 3 is enough?
Maybe not yet. Is that one that's gonna be,
I mean, I don't think Deacon's Folly is gonna take as long as the school.
let's put 4. Let's go with
Okay.
4.
So then I would suggest Pleasant Bay Community Boating,
the OS,
11,
What day?
11.
On the 14th.
14.
11.
Any concerns, objections? We good? So now we're on the 25th,
No, 21st.
21st, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Let's do, I think at that point, let's do,
Maybe the 3 recreation.
I was gonna suggest 5 that night, but I don't, you guys might disagree with me.
Kim really wants to get into recreation.
That's a big one. Big packet.
Well, yeah, so we got the
You
3
know something?
recreation.
Let's go. Let's put
Yeah, no.
recreation on.
On
for
the
the-
21st, yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
be,
Do the 3 recreation,
So 11, so Rec 12, 13, and 14.
yeah. And then if we wanna add a 4th, I would say we can, I mean, I think we can do the cemetery.
put the cemetery on.
Okay.
Agreements?
Sounds good.
Good.
Historical,
We could
3.
probably add Chase Library too if we wanted to. but-
I know, yes, go ahead. Ed Chase.
Okay, so awesome.
HQ. So for the 21st of November, you're doing the recreation departments 12, 13, and 14. Then the cemetery HP 3 and Chase Library HP 2.
So we only have 2 left.
You
So
have
the last 2
affordable housing left.
And rental assistance.
And rental assistance at 6.
And what date will that be?
I don't know, I'm just seeing what we have
Okay,
left.
yep.
That would be the first
3rd.
December.
You have
December 3rd.
boating
Third.
and the playground. So those what you've got left.
No, you got voting. You put
Put
voting on the
Playground.
14th.
We put
Playground.
voting
Yeah.
on the,
Yeah.
on
Yep.
the, voting's
Pleasant Bay.
Oh, it's 11.
11. On the 14th.
You have it as
Okay.
R11, yeah.
I don't
So-
think we have to have 5 on the 21st if we only have 2 for the December 3rd. Or you want to leave them there and then,
So we have, what's the date? December 3rd?
3rd, Tuesday.
And what's left?
We have
Trust?
3 left.
the housing trust, the rental assistance program, and the, I don't know.
That's all I show that's
That's it.
left.
that's all.
Yeah.
All
Is that
that's
it?
left.
We've
Yes.
top-loaded some of these
No,
minutes.
I'm missing one then.
12,
1, 2, 3, 4.
13,
Housing
15, 16,
trust.
that's correct, there's 16.
15.
1, 2, 3,
Put
4,
16.
5, 6, 7,
15.
8,
You have 15.
1, 2, 3, 4,
13,
5.
14,
that's all of them.
15. We only have 2 left. So we top-loaded some of these.
Well, we have 5
Means
on
we're
the
gonna-
21st. Why don't we change one of those to December 3rd?
I mean, we can take both off. and
That
put-
meeting's
we can-
not hard.
Which?
21st, we're not gonna die. We're gonna die on the 5th, on the 14th.
Then take 10, then take 1 out of the 5th, which is the historic. Right, take historic out of the 5th, out of the November
What?
5th.
No.
Well, why don't we just, if we take Bikeway, put Bikeway at the very last,
Okay. So put 10,
smallest.
okay.
So change that from November 5th to December 3rd, is that what
December
you-
3rd.
So Bikeways is going to,
Okay.
Any objections?
So you get Bikeways, Housing Trust? Which one is that? What number is that? On the
5.
3rd.
Housing trust is 5, CH5.
And what was the number on rental assistance?
6.
Thank you.
So where's he going?
3rd.
Rental assistance is going on the 3rd. So we have 5, 6, and 10 on the 3rd.
Why are we meeting on the 12th then?
no, is it?
The 12th is our regular meeting. And I would suggest we still need the 12th, because I think
Yeah.
we're gonna have
We're gonna-
follow-ups for all of these people. We're gonna have plenty of,
That, oh, they don't know that. Tell them that part.
Go ahead, Mary, you got it.
so as they make their presentations, what has typically happened, we will have many questions and ask for follow-up information. So they will come to a subsequent meeting to give us additional information and to answer additional questions. So just because we're getting the presentations on these days, we're gonna be still talking about them at subsequent meetings. So, I think,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think on December 3rd, we may have time for some follow-up questions. And I think on the 12th, that's probably what we
can
should
put it
plan on doing.
We can put it on both agendas.
Okay.
And then we'll just schedule whoever's gonna come in. Because we can then
At that
ask them,
point, right.
when we ask them, we can ask them if they can attend on which date to give us their follow-up.
They may not have the info until the 12th.
Right, they may not have
All right,
it
so
until
the
January,
The
but
17th, when we vote,
January.
January.
what date?
Hold on. I can't turn a page. What's that? Okay, so we are, on the 9th is our regular meeting in January.
What's the Thursday before?
The 2nd? No. What are you thinking? Another follow-up?
No, because
I don't know what you're thinking.
You wanna deliberate, an extra deliberation meeting? So do deliberation on the 9th and do voting on the Thursday following.
I'm not not gonna go through this right now, there may be a change. So, well, let's just keep what we have right now. All right, is there any more questions on process? So again, review your applications. Have your questions ready. Again, you're pretty much gonna hear and see what's on the application. And if there's a piece of the CPC, as we define what's relevant to the particular category that they're in, make sure that you go to the website, look up the information on the website, the CPC website. Everything is readily available to what you can and cannot do. And then take it from there.
There is also, if people haven't seen it, our flyer that is online on our website, right? I think you uploaded it.
Did you folks get,
It is, yes.
anybody, did you folks get any of the flyers that we had?
I'll send it to y'all.
You've
Yep.
got it.
Digitally, yeah, by email.
That pretty much says it all.
This, I'm
Does.
just happy.
Chris and Kathy did a really good job on it.
Yeah, they did it. Very good.
Well, it's the Community Preservation Coalition. But I'm not seeing a real, I don't know the address handy dandy because it's not on their pages. In the last email I sent y'all, I gave you the flyer.
This one, Rhoda?
And is it,
That website?
Yes, that's it.
yeah,
Communitypreservation.org?
Yep.
communitypreservation.org.
Thank you.
And we call it the Alliance, which is not helpful, but that's what we call it. It's the coalition, but we all call it the
The
Alliance.
Alliance.
Calling something, always the wrong name. But we did, but on that last email I sent you, I did include the flyer,
Do you have the,
and the flyer's also on our town website. And I also sent you, the Bikeways Committee by mistake made a copy of the full application. And section 1 is also on the website, but section 1, so now you have a printout, and it states what's allowed and what's not allowed, and what we strive for these applications to meet. So you have a hard copy as well as it online.
okay, something that
Bless you.
Bless you, needed to discuss. For those of you that are new, the board had voted and now requires grant applications for the monies that we disperse to the applicants. We've only gone as far as external
Is
entities
there a hard
that we're
copy of it?
providing
Can't
money
use
for.
yours? So this is what was handed out at the last meeting.
The last meeting. There has been a discussion, well, it hasn't taken place yet, but there's been a request for a discussion for internal applications to have grant agreements for them. In other words, anything that comes from the town, for example, we don't normally do, but we can have that discussion. But for right now, I'm submitting, applications are done. This is gonna go out to the applicants. They're gonna send it to their legal departments, have them do whatever they're gonna do, send it back. It'll come back to us for the final tweaking approval. Then it'll go for the Board of Selectmen for their signature. It may come back here again, I don't know. So, I'm just letting you know that that process is going forward, and that process will start tomorrow. So, the present applications for the grants are the Cape Housing Institute, the Affordable Housing Trust, ×2, and Habitat for Humanity. That's it. That takes care of that. Any questions? Done.
If they, and I know this is probably a discussion that's gonna be had at a later date, if they do not have a grant agreement, do they get something in writing, like an award letter or anything that lays out any terms and conditions? And I'm talking about the internal one now.
Not yet,
Okay,
not yet. We have to set a policy first.
okay.
But,
Now,
but,
here comes legal.
but, they have signed an application, and the
Yeah,
application has,
signature on the application is a
and the
binding.
application has terms and conditions, so,
Right.
so the application, I would argue, is binding on the applicant to comply with our terms and conditions and the, and what they've stated in their application.
If it's internal, then there might be something in between the full grant agreement and just the binding application that
Well-
we could discuss. If they're external, I completely agree, they should have an agreement, it should be signed by all parties, it should be reviewed by legal. I believe the coalition or the alliance, whatever you wanna call it, does recommend that and does actually provide some guidance about that.
And just for the board's knowledge, this is what's considered a friendly agreement. Just so you know. So,
Do those all the time.
next, anything else? John?
If we're moving on in the agenda, is that
We
what
are.
we're doing? Well, then, I have a few things to say about the website.
You have the floor, sir.
Why are you laughing?
Because I like our updates.
I didn't give any update last time.
I know you
But,
didn't.
You probably like that too.
Yeah.
But, a couple things, couple of immediate things. One is that the CPC page on the town website still says applications are due on October 1st. That needs to be changed, either removed or some other statement about we've received X number of applications for a total of Y number of dollars. I don't know whether you want to do that or not, or say anything, or just remove the due date. That's one thing. The other thing is, we've sort of returned to nominal conditions, which is the list of board members is completely out of date. And the last time I pressed that point, I thought I was gonna fix it, but it got fixed by somebody else. It turned out I didn't really know how to fix it anyway, but I don't know whether Jan or Dave, either of you have a fixed idea of what the process is here, because that's what I'm kind of missing. Since I don't have the complete information, I can't go on and do it. Last time I got the information, but it turned out that Caleb had already taken care of it. My inclination is to call Caleb and ask him to take care of it, but do I need to get the information for him? Is somebody in the town manager's office automatically updating, not the website, but just is there
The general information?
the general information? So I would like to take care of this, but I just don't know how to do it.
John, I'm very disappointed in you.
Okay. Are
You're
you
talking-
telling me
you're-
it's
you're
my
talking to a
problem?
dinosaur and you're asking,
I'm not.
my recommendation would be have a discussion with Caleb
Okay,
first
I'll talk to Caleb.
and then call,
And then I'll try to follow up with
Call
town
the office.
administration, yeah.
the
Okay.
the clerk's office.
Okay, so
John,
I'll-
would you like to,
Oh, I
You're
think,
familiar with the process.
I think it would be a great idea to have something that updates the public and lets them know how many applications were received. And now that we've decided on the dates that we're gonna be hearing those applications, I think it would help the public to know what those dates are, particularly because a couple of them are not your standard calendar date. So, I think as much information as can be pushed out to the public as possible is a good thing.
except for the total amounts of money
Yeah,
that are available?
yeah.
That's a moving target.
No, I agree with,
And when you
yeah,
put that out into the public spaces,
yeah,
it's latched on. It's already been out there tonight.
yeah.
But again, it's been explained that money moves.
Right.
The target's fluid.
Yeah.
So,
You can put the amounts of the applications.
number of apps,
That's not an issue.
Should I list the applications?
What about uploading the applications? I mean, I
Well,
don't think we could
that's-
upload the school
They would all have to be
application,
scanned and,
but-
That's an awful lot. John, you're a volunteer. You took this
I'm
on.
just asking.
It's your decision. That's an awful lot of work.
I think less is more. I think just having the title and possibly the amount, if you want to include the amount, would be sufficient.
and the,
They could always inquire for more information if they wanted to get more information.
so, once
And-
we move to electronic submission of all applications, it will be easy to put them online.
Absolutely. Or you have them provide a thumb drive with your paper copies, but we're not there.
No, we're
I
not.
think
So-
a simple,
so
like
title and
Kim
amount.
suggested, a simple sheet that lists the applicant, what bucket it's under and the amount, and then the dates that we've agreed to meet so that the public knows when they are,
Absolutely.
and then an
Well,
email
that's
or
on the agenda.
number
That'll
to
be posted
call.
on the agenda anyway, so.
But the agendas don't get posted until typically 48 hours ahead. So if we just put out the dates we're intending to meet, no? Jan's,
Go ahead, Jan.
Jan's knowing.
The reason I'm panicking just a smidge, in Harwich, we have to do it a week before Thursday. The deadline for meetings are the noon Thursday before our meeting.
Yeah,
So it's not, even though the state's 48, we're not 48. Secondly, somebody is gonna have a conflict, and we give them the option, give me whoever else can answer the question. But traditionally, somebody still has a major hiccup, so I don't wanna give you the dates and say it's a slam dunk that so-and-so's gonna be there on the 5th because
oh,
They'll
I
come
wasn't
afterwards.
suggesting you put who's gonna be there, you just put
Oh,
the
the project.
dates that we
Of the
agreed
meetings.
to meet so that the public knows you're meeting on dates that are not on your normal schedule, that's
I didn't
it.
quite get that nuance.
No information about who's gonna be there, just these are the dates that the CPC will be meeting
I
and
agree.
Yeah.
reviewing the applications. That's it.
Because the applications, that will be, will be
That's
on
a very
the
good thing.
agenda. So all the bloke needs to do is to see what the
Right.
agenda
This
is, and
is
then they'll
just-
see
yeah.
who is committed.
Yeah.
I do have this all typed up. Do you want me to send this to you?
What is that?
So it's all the applications, the name of the application, the applicant, project manager, amount requested, and I'll update the, numbers.
Oh, so
would've
I
been
could
okay
just take
tonight,
that
but yeah.
document, well, if,
Yeah,
is that, you have an electronic, that's a Word document?
yeah,
Just send me
yes.
the Word document.
I will.
I'll turn it into a PDF, and I
I'll
can,
just send you the PDF and the Word doc.
please, that sounds great, see? You may be a dinosaur, Dave, but
She's
Jan-
not.
Jan
No, I-
clearly is not.
Jan
Why
gets
do you
it.
think she's sitting on my right side? Joe, you look perplexed.
No, I'm a huge proponent of communication to the public, especially when we're spending their money and making all these decisions, big money decisions. And what you're just all discussing is updating of the information on the website, right?
Yes.
So what, if anything, do you do on cable?
So,
That's-
Chris Rocket actually was interviewed once
Yeah.
on cable.
We had a member that just left. And generally speaking, he took on the responsibility of signing up with the cable.
So why wouldn't you
Making
get interviewed?
presentations.
Why wouldn't you get interviewed on the cable if you're the chair?
I don't have the time.
I'll do it. I run a cable show now in Plymouth, and it's very, very informative. People tell me they see me. So all the seniors read cable, look at cable, right? And then they look at the local newspaper. But then there are nuances of people that will see me in town and say, oh, I saw your show on, I do a thing called All Things Senior, and it's all senior issues. And it's just
Joe-
another way to communicate it
Joe,
out.
do you see this here?
What? See what?
You see this here?
Yeah,
You're
great,
talking to a senior.
right.
Go ahead.
But, well, seniors a moving target in terms of date, as far as I'm concerned, but, I just think it's another way to communicate.
I agree.
And I
Absolutely.
saw what Bruce did, I just, all the towns around us have really communicated well, all the different committees and programs, and this is it's a lot of money, so.
You willing to take on that responsibility?
I wouldn't do it without people's help in terms of making sure that I don't say the wrong things and the wrong numbers. I would not bring up numbers to your point and just say, this is really exciting stuff, love to see you guys. I'd like to get interviewed, I interview people, I don't
So
do
there
it
is an
myself.
interview program. I happen to know the person who does the interviewing quite well. And she'd be happy to interview you.
Okay, yeah, because cable's all about just filling up the content.
All right,
And
so what are you looking to do, Joe? Give me
I
a
don't know.
context to put it in.
So I guess really to be interviewed by this woman about the process that we just talked about and be extremely general about it without any numbers, and then I wouldn't do anything until I checked with you, Dave.
Do we have the application? Do we have the pamphlet? Joe, do you have a copy of the pamphlet that was handed at a town meeting?
I don't, no.
It's on
We
our
have it as a
website.
PDF on your inbox.
Okay.
I'll
So
bring
that's
you
part of
guys
what you
some
sent
hard
me
copies.
for an email?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's also on the website.
That provides a lot of information.
Oh, good.
And if it gets reiterated, I don't care. It's what they need to know.
Yeah, what I do is I do I do 4-block questionnaire. So what are the 4 points that you want to put out in the next 15 to 20 minutes? And I don't let them go on for more than that, because people lose attention span, so. And
Okay,
they
so-
give me 4 different points, and then I hit those all
All
those
right,
4
you're doing
points.
the interview now. I'm interviewing you. What are your 4 points?
Well, I don't know yet. Yeah, this is my first meeting.
You haven't done your homework, Joe.
I have, but I actually was gonna talk to Jan. I'm missing
No,
8 and 10
it's-
of my
it's-
stuff.
Go ahead, done.
So,
The
Of the
Joe,
reports?
applications,
Can I
8 and
just
10.
clarify, are you talking about doing this ahead of
Uh-huh.
hearing the applications? Okay, right, so this is an informational
Only.
session,
Only.
and then, because I would think too, you would want to do one after the votes have been made, so
Yeah.
people know what's going to town meeting, right? That's very important.
Yeah.
And,
But before that happens,
right,
it has to go before the Board of
yeah,
Selectmen.
yep, yeah.
And like, the first question I have her ask me, what's the role in the mission statement of this group, and then move on from there to the generics of the main. I don't know if I'd list all 16 of these things. We're having some really important projects, and they involve rec, and they involve, the 4 different groups, right? The 3 or 4 different groups.
You realize it's an undertaking.
I don't know, it's not hard for
Because when you
me.
go to mission statements, you've got to go right to the act.
Right, yes,
By law?
yes, it's statutory,
Well, this is the
it's
things I have to know,
statutory.
so I'll stay away from that.
I'd
Mary, I think
be,
I'll check with
I'm
you.
not trying to put a kibosh on you, I'm just,
no, I'd be willing to do this with you. I
Okay.
have a pretty good handle on the law. I do a lot of public speaking,
Okay,
so I'll help,
okay.
okay?
so the subcommittee is Joe and Donna.
And you know who
You
to-
just
I
made them
mean,
a
you-
subcommittee.
You know who to talk to,
Yeah.
like Jamie.
So now
Yeah.
they have to
And
post all their
Jamie will
meetings.
set it up, right?
But don't say that.
No,
There you
no,
go.
No,
yeah,
this
you
is not
don't
a
want,
subcommittee.
she's right, you don't want to make it a subcommittee or a body of
But two of you automatically are a subcommittee, whether we call you it or not, so.
Why? But, so says
Because-
you, or?
No, that's the law.
Even if we're just being interviewed together,
Yeah,
No. If you are working on a project together, then yes, you're a subcommittee.
yeah. I wouldn't call this a project. This is an interview.
Sorry. I disagree with you.
Symposium.
The last place you want to fall afoul of the open meeting law is the Community Preservation Committee. It's too much money involved.
Yeah.
Well, is your, I'm missing.
See-
do
I
you
mean, if
wanna
you're-
do this
If you're
right
working on it,
now?
if you're
What's
doing
that?
an
Is your
ongoing,
interview right
No,
now,
I understand.
You know,
while we're
like
going through the
twice.
applications, is that what
yeah,
you're saying?
I know.
No, no, no,
I
no, no.
understand the
I
open
know you
meeting.
do.
This is just an interview. So Donna and I would sit in front of this woman, and we'd give her 4 or 5 different points to ask us questions on, and we would addressing in a very generic, general way, and just, it's just informative. I'm just trying to make more information open to the public.
But as we're
Well, you
going
guys
through
are
the
making this
applications.
very hard.
As we're going through the applications.
I don't think.
You're not
Municipal
making it hard.
government makes your life hard.
Yeah, the open meeting law. I think I should spend some
In the
time and read
future.
that.
You see, I attended the symposium for the AG's open meeting law, and I'm gonna disagree with the attorney at the table,
Mm-hmm.
but it's only my interpretation.
Depends on how you've done it.
Again, what's the board's pleasure?
Yeah. And we don't have to do it at all,
I don't have to help Joe.
but, thanks, Donna.
Before, it was just Chris, a single individual. So
That's
why
the
don't
difference.
we just,
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Right.
Okay,
That's the difference.
so, okay.
I got, I'm,
So if I just do one person, then it's not a committee and Mary's okay. I'm with you,
David said the two of you were a subcommittee.
right,
As soon as he said you were a subcommittee, you were a subcommittee.
she's correct.
all right.
And your meetings require
So
posting
she
in
just hit me
minutes.
on the head with the book. I got it. I got
All
the
right.
message.
So I'll just do it myself.
You can ask for help.
Just make sure you're prepared.
Yeah.
Is that come in
Is
the
it-
form of a Dunkin'
so-
Donuts coffee?
No, so can I ask the question?
I'm really not worried about myself. I'm worried about
Is the
her
board-
asking very specific, the right questions
Is the
to me.
board agreeable to requesting that Joe McParland do Channel 38 or Channel 18
18.
updates for us? I would make a motion
Consensus?
that he does that,
Don't have to. You just take a consensus.
and I'm
Fine with
I'm
me.
game for it.
Yeah, you got it.
All right,
Ball's in your court.
okay,
If there are any mistakes made,
yeah, it's on me.
and you're gonna hear it.
All
I'll
right.
watch it and you'll know.
And you can ask for help. You're an individual. You can
Yes.
ask for help.
Assistance only.
Can I also suggest that you look for the Channel 18 interview with
Chris.
Chris Rocket, that I don't remember exactly when it happened?
Chris Rocket?
That's his,
Yes,
yeah.
It's on YouTube.
Oh, that's
On
easy. I'll find
YouTube.
it.
You'll find it, all those Channel 18 things are on
Double
there.
T.
See what happened there. And
That
he
helps.
was working off that same sheet, the flyer, I think, to begin with.
He
Right.
did that right prior to town
Right.
meeting, wasn't it?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
Yep. And then we just.
So it
you
would have
can-
been April timeframe, I would think.
April, okay.
And really, when you download that PDF, there's a wealth of information on it to what we do and what the requirements are.
On the flyer?
Yeah,
Okay,
it'll help you tremendously.
good. All right.
Okay, anything else that anybody want on the agenda for next meeting? Any requests?
I think we got enough.
So now the next meeting is November 5th.
Yeah.
Yep,
Okay.
all right?
And I'll schedule the meetings ASAP, and I'll let y'all know the location.
Thanks, Jan.
We're gonna be in this building though, right?
Maybe.
Not necessarily, sometimes
Really?
we'll meet at the community center if we
Oh,
don't have room in the inn. You said you don't have
8 and
bikeways
10.
or Walker's Pond?
right. 8 and 10. Right.
Okay.
I don't know why.
I don't know either. They're skinny.
I don't have extras, but I'll
Why I
look.
missed them.
Barry, do you think that copier downstairs is working now? I mean, that copier's wonky.
I
It
don't
is one temperamental little guy. Sometimes it does, sometimes it
I
doesn't.
don't know.
If you go to, I don't have the time. I'll call the,
Did anybody get an extra? Did
did anybody
anybody?
get an extra?
We were missing Walker's Pond and bikeways.
8 and 10. Okay. Oh, those are
And
small
you, when
too.
y'all picked up your,
Did the town administrator return the copies that were?
I didn't.
I
don't
can
know
get
what
it,
Jan gave me.
can I get it from them tomorrow, sometime during the day? So,
from
From
who?
oh, I don't
Go
know.
to the town administrator's office.
I-
They
Yeah.
have copies of the,
That's what I'm saying.
yeah.
Sandy?
Do they?
Sandy's not there any longer.
Oh.
But there is a new gal that,
Patty.
Patty.
Okay.
There's Patty, nice.
Well, town,
I have a set involved, but
it's not something we wanna use for copies.
I wouldn't,
It's just they have a really nice copier in the town administrator's office.
we do not.
Ask Patty.
Okay,
And if that's a
I'll look and
hitch,
see if I see
let
it.
me
I
know,
don't.
okay.
and, we can rendezvous.
All right, good.
I mean, I can scan it, but so much easier just to hand it to you.
I don't even have my own rec book.
Looking for a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
She wants out of here. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, smart lady.